All right, now time for some relationship discussion. And Jane Vanessa Willie is a certified relationship coach with 9 years of experience in counseling and coaching. She is the founder of Janessa Foundation, an NGO, and she's also an on-air personality, a Mandela Washington Fellowship. And today, she'll be talking about how different genders express grief. Good morning, Jane.
Good morning.
How
Thanks
are
for
you
having me this
today?
morning.
How are you
Very well,
today?
thank you.
Great. Now
Very
let's
well,
get
thank you.
great. Now let's get right into today's discussion. How should genders express grief? The male and the female gender. Of course, we do not, express grief same way. We express them differently. And also, I'd also like to ask, how should we comfort our loved ones who are also experiencing grief?
Okay, first things first, you need to understand that grief is very personal. So, more often than not, in the bid to try to help, you may be overstepping sometimes. So, it depends on the kind of relationship or what the person is grieving about that you can now decide what kind of support the person needs. So, generically, people have, generally, you have like 7 levels of, grieving. You first of all have the denial, it's not happening to me. Oh, they are going to come around. Oh, they will realize that I was valuable and coming back to take that job and all of that. Then you have the anger stage, then your bargaining stage, where you're like, oh no, if I had stayed longer, maybe I'll spend more time with them, they wouldn't have left me. Or, okay, God, if you do this for me, I'm going to give you that and all of that. Then you have the depression state. That's where a lot of us don't want to go to. And grief happens to everyone
Everyone,
depending on
true,
what you're grieving.
true.
Yes, at every stage in life. And for people who are in the depression stage and have lingered there for longer than necessary, they would need support from a therapist to help them walk through that phase. And the final stage will be acceptance. Acceptance doesn't necessarily mean that you've stopped feeling the pain or everything is going okay. It's just that place where you realize that, okay, this is what is happening to me. I have to come to terms with it, and I have to
Okay,
find a way going forward.
okay.
So for men, typically when they are grieving, they isolate. They go into what we call the cave experience. So they do that when they want to think. They do that when they're in pain. They do that when they're grieving. So the
Yeah,
best
but a
support
lot of
that
men
you
don't
are,
show it. As much as they isolate, we don't
yes,
see them in that isolation,
yes.
and they don't show it.
Okay, so the isolation happens mainly mentally.
Okay,
So for a
okay.
woman, the way she expresses grief, she always, because she feels she's relating with a woman like herself, she wants to ask questions. How are you feeling? How can I support you? What can I do to make you feel better? For the woman, that's support. For the man, it could be irritating. At that point,
Oh,
he doesn't want
really?
to answer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he doesn't want to answer any questions. He doesn't want you to drill him with what's going on in his head because it's a mental thing. Mainly, most times, it's a mental thing. He doesn't want you in that space. So, the best support you can give to a partner is to let them know that you're available whenever they're ready to talk. As difficult as that is for a woman, I mean, it's the most difficult thing for any woman to do, pretty much, because we are talkers. We like to
We
relate
like to
when we
engage,
are in pain.
yes?
We like,
Yeah.
yes, to engage. Men, on the other hand, don't like to engage.
Yeah,
When
but
they're ready
is
to
it
talk,
right? Is it okay? Is it
it's
safe?
just like saying, is it right to be a woman or is it right to be a man?
Wow,
There's
okay.
no rightness or wrongness about it. It's
Okay.
pretty much about adaptability, being
Okay.
able to adapt to the person that you are relating with or you're trying to help get over a grief.
Okay.
So, as a professional, we also try, I personally try not to become an expert at analyzing people's pain. You must, that's why I said I started with pain. Grief is personal. So you need to understand that first and foremost to be able to now know how can I support this person so that you don't overstep. So for example, a lady may lose a child and then someone shows up and say, oh, God gives and God takes.
You
Are
shouldn't
you
say things like
serious?
that. Yeah.
Are you kidding me right now? Like, if God didn't want me to have it in the first place, why did He allow me to go through the
Yes.
9 months pregnancy and all of that? So also our choice of words when people are grieving is very, very key.
Okay.
Don't come up and try to act like, oh, I understand what you're going through. Yes, you may have been through similar experiences. That doesn't mean you know exactly where I am or what level of or stage in grief I am or what threshold of pain I have,
I,
because we all have different threshold pain.
for
I
pain,
can
true.
take 10 divorces, you can only handle one. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Yes. So it's a very personal thing, and it's a personal journey for a lot of people, and you need to respect that.
Okay,
That's
so
one way to
just as there
support.
are levels to grieving, are there also levels to how to support people who are grieving?
Yes, like I've stated, first things for so for the female, she wants to be encouraged. She doesn't want to be blamed for whatever you think happened or why she don't tell her things like, oh, well, let's use the typical case of divorce. Like, when people say they are divorced, they are being treated like a plague in society,
Yes.
especially in this part of the world. So,
Yeah.
you hear people say that, oh, she was so much of a career person. If she
More
had paid more
attention to
attention to her,
herself.
yes, it may not have happened. Don't. In fact, for me, the first principle is try not to be an expert at analyzing other people's pain. Understand that is their pain.
And they can go through
Listen,
it. Okay.
yes, listen to their grieving process and be there when they need you to be. They might be in stage one. Don't jump to, you need to accept this. The stage one may be denial for them. Oh, they are not in that place where they have come to terms with this is really happening. You start telling
Okay.
them, oh no, you have to accept this. This is happening. You need to follow them gradually. Patience is one of the most important tool to support anyone who's
Yes,
going through
quickly,
grief.
Jane, before we wrap up this segment, there are also people who, try to distract themselves by getting themselves involved in different, taking on different roles, different responsibilities, or some even use work as as a distraction
Distraction.
method. Yeah. Is that okay?
Yes,
Is
that's a stage. That's
okay.
a stage in the grief process. So when they do that for a long time, they are trying to. There's an emptiness or a void that they feel, and they think that more work, more alcohol, more sex will fix that. They are running away from dealing with that pain. So that's part of the denial process. I always
Okay.
encourage that depending on the intensity of the grief for you, you may not be able to go through it alone. You would
All
have
right.
to lean on somebody else's
Thank
strength,
thank you
strength
so
from someone
much.
else to be able to go through.
Thank you so much, Jane. I'm sure that people who are grieving
Thank you so much.
have
Thank
learned one or two things. So you, if you actually have someone close to you who's actually experiencing grief at this time, support them, encourage them, talk to them, and don't badge them. Don't be all up in their space. Allow them grieve, to each his own. Thank you so much, Jane, for that interesting conversation. There's still so much more on the show, guys. Please stay with us. We'll be right back.